Hi guys, this is Anders and welcome to the next part of the Exploring Alchemy series. Now guys, if you've been following through these tutorials and you've been liking them, they've been helping you, please just pop a subscribe to the channel, pop a like on the video. It helps me out massively in creating more videos for you guys. Now, in this one, we're going to be looking at the granular side of what alchemy can do. And I think first we'll explain a little bit what granular synthesis is. Essentially, it takes a sound and it uses what it defines as grains as its sound sources. Now, if you look at a sound, it passes dual polarity, so it goes positive and negative repeatedly. Each time it does one positive cycle and one negative cycle, it comes back to zero. That is a single cycle. That is then a grain. Now this is very similar to how wavetable synthesis works. So massive, for example, where you can go from a saw wave to a square wave and the complex ones in between. Serum's a great example. Waves codex is also another great example of wavetable synthesis, where it has a combination of single cycle waveforms that you can pass your way through. Now, granular works in a slightly different way, but the principle is very similar. We could take a sound, it takes grains, single cycles, and you can manipulate those single cycles and how they perform. It doesn't quite work as a sampler because it gives you a very different type of sound. You see, what I've done here was just made a little house bass type of sound. It's just a kick loop from Logic's Apple Loops library. Bass line in MIDI going on up there, and it's all just this. I've taken one sample from a house loop pack, just a single bass sample, and just made this. And that's just so you can sort of hear the granular type sound that gets made. We'll have a little look through this and then we'll just go back at making it. So as usual, just jump in here into oscillator A from global. We just click on A, fab, and we can see what's going on. So the waveform here is the waveform of what I've imported. That is standard. The waveform is going to look like whatever it's taking its reference from. Now what's important are that we're on granular over here and that we imported the sound as granular. Tell you what, let's do this. Let's clear it and let's build it from scratch. So click on saw, we click import audio. Hopefully, no, it hasn't got it up here already. That's fine. Let's see if it's still over here. Yeah, fab. What one did we use? Probably you. Nope. Well, so let's make a new noise. Let's take that stutter G. And we're going to put this on granular over here. And we're going to import it. And like it does for the others, it will make a quick reference to the sound and it'll import it for us. Boom, we can see that going on over here. Let's have a listen. Okay, that was the sound, bro. Here it's almost standard playback of a sample. It's just a little bit different to what it was. Versus almost lost some quality. And that's pretty standard for granular synthesis. It's like when you import into additive and you've only got a certain amount of nodes and how it recreates the sound. Important things to take note of are how it works in here. So see the size at 100 milliseconds and the number of grains versus the time, they all work together. The size, we put it down to 2 milliseconds. It means every 2 milliseconds it moves to the next cycle. That's incredibly fast. That's sort of what you'd expect from a high frequency sound to be going like. Yeah, so this works more around in the higher end, where it's taking 188 milliseconds to move to each grain or each cycle, however you want to look at it. Now the density is the cross of how many grains you're going to get going within that time period. So we've got the density at 5. We're going at 188 milliseconds. It's crossing through 5 different grains in 188 milliseconds. Okay, so it's giving a small time per each one, but it's cross-fading into each one, so it always returns to 0 early, and that will give us a change in sound. See how it gives us a really nice wobble if it's letting it go for the whole 188 before it's moving to the next one. Whereas if it's got up to 5, it's cutting through multiple different ones, fading them in and out. The time for this is then, as you'd expect, it's percentage of the time for the fade in, and the pan, fairly self-explanatory. Yeah, so you hear it's giving us a split between the left and right, widening it up a little bit. Not necessarily what you want to do with a low end bass sound unless you're going to put a sub below it, because you don't want to be panning hard left and hard right low frequencies, because they will cancel each other out and cause you problems when mixing. But for the minute, it's a nice little effect. We'll roll with this. Now, the effects going on here, we see this two-key, turkey, however you want to say it. These are different effects in how the spacing of the grains is worked out. There's no specific explanation for how each particular one works, but they have an effect on how the fades work and how it goes from each transition of each grain. I found the one we were using really well was the trapezoid, but we can have a quick listen through them and what they're doing. The stereo offset there pretty much just bringing us left or right. And what this is doing, the taps here, is bringing more cycles in at once, almost like a unison, but not quite the same thing. We've got 1 solid, 2, 4. You can really hear it start to spread here. I think it actually went to 4 before it ticks to 4 there. That's something to note. That now it's starting to become a bit busy. 4 works alright though. We like 4. 4's nice. Bit sloppy, but hey, let's flick through them. Fab. So I had this before with needle, where it pretty much feels like a needle skipping on a record. It's just creating sort of that artificial pops and clicks and dust. Might be useful in sound design, but not for what we want today. You can hear what ramp down's doing here. On the release of the note, it's effectively ramping the pitch down. It's causing some pops in this bassy tone. But for something a little longer with a long release, that would work really nicely, and just sort of ramp it off and change the pitch, give a bit of character to it. Same thing, but ramping up. That seems to just straight up be fading off at the last grain there and just cutting that out. And there's the one that I liked. So that's the main basis of granular synthesis. Now, to make the sound work as well as I did for this little house bass thing, I did do a couple of other little things. We went to low pass to XP, we brought that down a bit here. Perhaps it's quite a bassy sound, and I brought the resonance up a touch, and then I gave these both their own ADSR. We synced it up here and we gave it this first section rising up with a straight cutoff. That's just giving us a little bit of movement up there. That's something you'll hear in house tunes a lot. I did the same thing on the resonance, so as the filter comes up, so the resonance pushed up as well, so it adds top end. It brings your ear away from the bass up to the top. I don't want that much though, we want it about here. Nice. Now the other bits I did were dead simple, something we see quite a lot. We went acoustic reverb right the way down to about 11%, I think. Oh, maybe not that. Okay, perhaps we did classic. No, we did acoustic. Okay, really low percentage. And we used the 3-band EQ for this. Around this sort of marker, nice wide, and then push that. There we go. And there you go, we've used granular synthesis to build up a nice little sort of future house sounding bass there. You can just grab samples and just keep tweaking it, do all sorts of things with it. It's not as in-depth as additive, but you get the sound you're after nice and quickly. Okay, so that's how I created this nice little future bass, future house bass type sound, and yeah, you can hear straight away that granular is quite a good way to go with it. It gives that sort of analog sound to the bass that you're after. It's a little bit off perfection all the time, which works really well for this sort of almost off-key, bouncing around type of bass. It's perfect, that sort of thing. Just keep playing with it. You know what the parameters do now, and you give you an idea of where they're going to take you in this kind of area. Nice little trick there with the filters as well. So guys, next time what we're going to be looking at is the spectral side of Alchemy and how we can build sounds in that and how we'll do it. You've been going through this quite a lot. If you guys are following this along as it goes week by week, have a little look at the spectral now, and I'm sure I'll be able to open your eyes a little bit more when it happens in the future. Thank you very much.
I don't waste time, I'm not a waste man. Half of these artists move too big, fam. Make no mistake, I'm out to get paid. Spread a place like tear gas in a rave. Some of these lot need to behave. Come out the yard, fix up, have a shave, life short.